Leo Joe thought he could rekindle his romance with his first love, his white moonlight. For that reason, he rushed to complete the divorce procedures with me. We had informed all guests 10 days before the wedding that the ceremony was cancelled. The wedding banquet turned into nothing short of a joke. Yet only a week later he showed up at my door, begging me tearfully for forgiveness. Nova, I was wrong. Let's not split up. Can we still get married 3 days from now? With only 24 days left until the original wedding date, my best friend called to ask when we would go pick out the bridesmaid dresses. I had no idea how to tell her that we might get divorced. I walked into the kitchen, where the sink was piled high with greasy bowls and plates as always. Was it really so hard to wash the dishes after a meal? A dishwasher could solve it all. How had things escalated all the way to divorce over something so trivial? Struggling to hold back my crumbling emotions, I asked my best friend on the phone, Piper, can I come over for lunch at your place? Piper Chin made me a simple bowl of egg drop noodle soup. Honestly, the taste was just average, yet we sat eating it for a very long time. You know, I've never cooked for anyone else before. Make do with it. You've moved me so much I'm about to cry. Cut the drama. We laughed and joked, but soon my smile faded away. She noticed something was wrong with me, said nothing more, and quietly cleared the table. Let me do it. I rushed to carry the dishes into the kitchen. Piper took the dishes back from my hands and turned on the faucet. The water ran rushing down and my tears streamed down just as freely. Piper Chin was quite a lazy person too. Too lazy to cook, too lazy to wash dishes, too lazy to tidy up. Every time I visited her place and saw the pile of unwashed tableware, I would always help clean them without hesitation. After so many times she would tidy up beforehand whenever I came over. Even my best friend knew my habits, yet my own husband could not bear them. Perhaps we really were just not meant to be together. Seeing me crying, Piper quickly dried her hands, turned off the faucet, and pulled me over to sit on the living room sofa. Are you two really getting divorced? I don't know. Leo Joe was 3 years older than me. We met through a blind date. On our first meeting we had hot pot. Leo Joe offered to switch seats with me voluntarily. Only after switching did I realize billowing steam was blowing straight onto his face. We left a good first impression on each other. After meeting 3 more times we officially started dating. Leo Joe had very little romantic experience, having only dated one girlfriend back in college. Their breakup was perfectly realistic. After graduation they had different life plans and could not resolve the long-distance issue. The girl refused to move to this small city, and Leo Joe could not afford a house in the capital. He told me all of this honestly. Half a year into our relationship we got engaged, and everything went smoothly. The wedding was scheduled for September 26th. The hotel, photographer, makeup artist, host, bridesmaids, and groomsmen were all booked well in advance. In early July, we got our marriage certificate. The wedding house was also fully renovated, so we moved in together and began living as a married couple. During the first few days of cohabitation, Leo Joe and I were inseparably affectionate. Every morning before heading out, we would hug goodbye in a ritualistic way. The moment he got off work and came home, I would throw myself into his arms. I had never known seeing each other day in and day out could be so addictive. So addictive that missing even one day felt like forgetting my keys, constantly patting my empty pocket out of habit. Back then I even told Piper, who feared marriage, that marriage was nowhere near as terrifying as everyone made it out to be. Yet reality quickly proved me wrong. During our relationship, we mostly went on single-day dates. The longest time we spent together was on a road trip to the seaside to watch the sunrise, staying side by side for 3 whole days. Everyone always said you can tell if you're compatible with someone by traveling together. I had thought Leo Joe and I were perfectly compatible. But after truly living together, conflicts stemming from different living habits gradually surfaced. For instance, Leo Joe would leave dirty bowls aside after meals, planning to wash them only before cooking the next time. I could not stand letting dirty tableware pile up. I always put things back in their original place after use so I would not lose them later. Leo Joe had a habit of leaving things randomly scattered. His desk cluttered with all sorts of items, and he hated tidying up. There was also the laundry issue we had fought over many times. Leo Joe would dump all his clothes into the washing machine at once, even though I had told him countless times never to wash my underwear and socks together with other garments. Such trivial little things slowly wore away our patience. You can't seriously believe that nonsense, right? Just buy a dishwasher, wash your own clothes separately. Is it really worth filing for divorce over such petty stuff? Piper Chin looked utterly speechless. I knew she was right, yet I still found myself explaining. Habits are really hard to change. Even though they're all trivial little things, they pile up and really ruin your mood. My dear girl, don't let him fool you. Who gets divorced just a month before the wedding over trivial household matters? Nova, wake up. Have you ever thought he might have someone else outside? Leo Joe isn't that kind of person. I'm just saying, what if? You'd better keep your eyes open. Honestly, this whole thing feels really off to me. Piper stood up to pour me a glass of water, then suddenly put down the kettle as if remembering something, turning to ask me. That night you two had a fight. He didn't come home until the wee hours, right? Could it be that? No way. I checked his phone, there was nothing suspicious. You can never be too sure. If he really did something shady, he'd definitely clear all the records. It wouldn't be that easy for you to find. I'm serious, be careful. Deep down, I had suspected the same thing once before. It was the night of July 30th. Leo Joe dumped the entire laundry basket into the washing machine as usual, forgetting to take out my underwear. Men's separately. All the negative emotions built up from previous trivial disputes finally erupted that night. I just forgot. Do you really have to pick a fight over this? How many times have you forgotten already? You weren't like this before? That night, Leo Joe stormed out in anger. I called him at midnight, but he didn't answer. I waited until 2 in the morning before he came home, the smell of alcohol on his breath. He said he'd had a few drinks at a small pub, just venting to his friends. Leo Joe held me tight and kept apologizing. Nova, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Nova, don't leave me. We made up the very next day. Still, I couldn't help checking his phone. I looked through his contacts and chat logs, finding nothing out of the ordinary. I told myself Leo Joe was not the type to cross the line. On the way home, Piper's words kept lingering in my mind. A sense of unease settled over me completely. Once I got home, I immediately took out Leo Joe's bank card. After getting married, we had agreed he would hand over most of his salary for me to save, keeping a portion for daily expenses. This card was the one Leo Joe used for daily spending. I went to the bank and checked the transaction records for the past 2 months. Amid pages of scattered daily expenses, I found the record for July 30th. There was a charge around 8 in the evening. Recognizing the merchant name at a glance, I knew it was Gianne, a stylish little pub many of our friends frequented. At 11 at night, there was another charge of 258 yuan from a chain hotel. So that was the truth. No wonder he didn't answer my midnight call. He said he'd drunk too much and didn't hear it. He even promised he'd never go out drinking after a fight again. I had believed every word. No, maybe he was just tired and booked an hourly room at the hotel to rest. Maybe he really fell asleep and didn't hear the phone ring. After all, Leo Joe came home right after waking up. He wasn't that kind of person. I hoped I was just overthinking it. I calmed my emotions and kept browsing the transaction history. Yet on August 25th, I saw the same familiar merchant name again, the exact same hotel. On August 30th, there was also a transfer of 520 yuan. My heart dropped to freezing point in an instant. The 25th was the day he brought up divorce. Back then, Leo Joe claimed he'd worked overtime until 9 before coming home. I asked him why he hadn't handed over his salary for the month as usual. He replied that he'd had too many work dinners lately, leaving him with higher daily expenses. We ended up arguing over this again. Leo Joe thought I was being unreasonable and unsympathetic. You weren't like this before. You volunteered to let me keep your salary. What changed after getting married? Nova, let's call off the wedding. Leo Joe looked straight into my eyes with complete seriousness. We're just not right for each other. Standing before the glass window, I saw my own reflection overlapping with the tall buildings outside. In a daze, I could no longer tell what was real and what was an illusion. My hands trembled as I pulled the bank card out of the machine. So even his supposed overtime work had all been a lie. I sat alone on the sofa for a very long time. I stayed there until the sunset faded and the sky turned dark, a chill creeping over my body. Only then did I walk into the bedroom to put on a coat. A week had already passed since Leo Joe brought up divorce. He had never come to coax me, and we'd exchanged only a few lukewarm words in between. I had thought there was still room for reconciliation. Or rather, I couldn't believe we would end up like this with the wedding so close. But now I had no choice but to accept that he was dead serious. I splashed cold water on my face, composing my weary expression. The wedding was just around the corner. If we called it off now and told all our relatives and friends, we would undoubtedly become the laughingstock of everyone around us. Even if we were getting divorced, I would be the one to end it. I had to find out exactly what he had done. When Leo Joe came home that night, he finally took the initiative to talk to me. Nova, have you thought things through about the divorce? I'm not joking. We really aren't compatible. There are only 24 days left until the wedding. Leo Joe, I know my temper hasn't been great lately, but arguments are normal for any couple. All these problems can be worked out. He seemed stunned for a long moment, clearly not expecting my attitude to soften all of a sudden. Nova, I'm not acting on impulse. I've thought this through carefully. I don't want both of us to keep dragging each other down and feeling exhausted. I raised my index finger to his lips, cutting off his next words. I stared straight into Leo Joe's eyes and spoke slowly. You wouldn't have fallen for someone else, would you? How could I? Stop being so suspicious and overthinking things. Leo Joe stood up abruptly, looking somewhat annoyed. I was just joking. I know you're not that kind of person. If I hadn't found out early, I might have really believed him. But seeing Leo Joe's reaction now only struck me as ridiculous. Perhaps avoiding facing me, Leo Joe still left home that night. He said he would stay at his parents' place for the time being, and hoped I would sort out my thoughts soon, adding that the wedding could not be delayed any longer. At 10 o'clock, I couldn't resist driving out. I suspected they would meet tonight. I was burning with curiosity. What kind of woman could make Leo Joe determined to get divorced despite everyone's whispers? I had a vague feeling things were not as simple as they seemed. There were 9 branches of that chain hotel in our city. I ruled out 3 remote ones, and drove to the parking lots of the rest one by one, searching for Leo Joe's license plate. Luck was on my side. I found his car at the second hotel. I found a secluded corner and sat down against the wall. I had barely eaten anything all night, yet my stomach churned uncontrollably. I wasn't sure if I could wait for them, nor did I know if I had the courage to face the scene. Cars came and went in the parking lot, one after another. Countless scenarios played out in my mind. At 11:30 there was finally movement. A man and a woman walked over hand in hand. I recognized Leo Joe's clothes. At a glance, I quickly took out my phone, zoomed in the camera several times, and pressed record. So it was her. Their fingers were intertwined as they smiled and got into the car. Leo Joe even took the initiative to open the passenger door for her, something he had never once done for me. I waited until the car drove far away and disappeared completely from sight before trembling and turning off my phone. My fingers felt numb and lifeless. Tears fell uncontrollably, leaving me like a lost child wandering alone in the dark night. No matter how many times I had imagined this scene in my heart, when it unfolded right before my eyes, I was left speechless, without the strength to step forward and confront them. I leaned against the wall to steady myself. He was the one who had done wrong, yet I was the one flustered and hiding away. The woman had chestnut-colored big wavy hair and delicate makeup, bright and charming when she smiled. Her face was familiar to me. I had seen their photos together on Leo Joe's phone back when we had only been dating for 2 months. Leo Joe was not someone who liked taking photos, and his phone album was simple, filled only with food and scenery shots. It was by chance that I stumbled upon that photo. The background was a university teaching building. In the picture, Leo Joe looked like a shy, innocent college student with an honest grin. The girl held a bag of breakfast in her hand, wearing a faint smile too. Leo Joe watched my expression nervously. Nova, I'm sorry. I deleted all the others. I kept this one because it marks my first relationship. I brought her breakfast every day for a whole year. Even though she rejected me long ago, I still had feelings for her. Then she suddenly agreed to date me that day, and actually I wasn't really angry. Everyone has their own past experiences. There was no need to erase his memories just because of me. After all, deleting the photo couldn't erase what had already happened. But afraid I would mind, Leo Joe deleted the photo on the spot and emptied the recycle bin too. Nova, please trust me. It's long over between us. Keeping this photo doesn't mean I still have lingering feelings for her. Ball quotes. I know. Later I saw the same girl again in Leo Joe's university graduation group photo, standing right in front of him. It had to be said that among all the squinting classmates in the group picture, she stood out strikingly beautiful. I memorized her name, Melanie Dye. I never imagined something like this would happen to me. It turned out nothing could stand in the way once his first love, his white moonlight, came back into his life. After calming down for a long time, I sent Piper Chin a message. Leo Joe is really cheating on me. It was already past midnight when I arrived at Piper's place. She opened the door in her pajamas. I had thought my emotions had settled, but the moment I saw Piper, I broke down and cried in her arms for a very long time, smearing her new pajamas with tears and snot. We lay on the bed together. She ranted and cursed Leo Joe nonstop for 20 minutes while I cried until I had no strength left. My eyes stung sorely, dry as an empty well with no more tears to shed. I'm telling you, you should let everyone know the real reason for the divorce, and fight for more money. Don't let that scumbag get off easy. I nodded, too exhausted to speak. What a shameless man. He really thinks everything will go his way. Let me see that video. I handed her my phone and whispered, look for it yourself. I closed my eyes, my mind filled with the image of their intertwined fingers. Fortunately, I had no more tears left to cry. This woman looks so familiar. I feel like I've seen her somewhere before. I was half asleep when Piper shook me awake violently. Nova, I remember now. She once booked an appointment with me. What did you say? I jolted fully awake and sat up straight. Piper Chin worked as a gynecologist at a grade A tertiary hospital. Back in August, Eleanor Dye had registered at their hospital, complaining that her menstruation had been delayed for a long time. Piper first ordered a blood test. After confirming pregnancy, she arranged a B-ultrasound scan for her. So he rushed to divorce me because she's pregnant. My mood sank again, weighed down by an overwhelming sense of despair. While I still held on to hope for our relationship, he couldn't wait to run to someone else, ready to form a real family of 3. Not necessarily. I thought the embryo looked larger than expected from the ultrasound result back then, but she insisted. Her last period had been 37 days earlier, so I could only mark it as 5 weeks of pregnancy. You know how doctors have to follow what the patient says. You think there's something fishy about her? I sat up once more. Yeah, I have a bold guess. Piper and I exchanged a glance, instantly understanding each other's meaning. I was certain they had only reconnected in the past 2 months. Otherwise, Leo Joe would never have married me. After we moved in together, Leo Joe came home every day, and always reported his whereabouts when he had things to do. The only time he went missing was the night we fought. What happened in between was self-evident. Eleanor Dye was stunningly beautiful, and had no shortage of suitors back in school. Yet only Leo Joe brought her breakfast every single day for a whole year, loving her persistently and passionately. Even on days when she looked plain without makeup or doing her hair, Leo Joe would greet her with an honest, silly smile. Girls always found it hard to resist such sincere devotion. Their 3-year campus relationship had to end upon graduation. Housing prices in the capital were far beyond Leo Joe's reach. He had no way to settle down there. Someone like Eleanor Dye would never be willing to follow him back to his hometown to start a life. Faced with unsolvable realistic obstacles, Leo Joe had no choice but to accept the breakup. That was why he never dated anyone after graduation. It was only when his peers got married one after another that he met me through a blind date. Someone more suitable for a stable life. But how could he possibly turn down his unforgettable white moonlight once she came back? Blinded by joy, Leo Joe never stopped to wonder why someone as bright and proud as Eleanor Dye would sudden. Why be willing to travel thousands of miles to settle down in this third-tier city that never belonged to her? Perhaps after wandering around all these years, Eleanor Dye finally realized she had missed the man who loved her the most. Leo Joe would definitely believe such words. I would have believed them too if I hadn't known she was already pregnant long before. The next day I went to consult a lawyer and explained the general situation. Even if he is the at-fault party, he can't be forced to leave the house with nothing. But I will help you fight for the maximum benefits. What you need to do now is gather as much evidence as possible to strengthen your position in negotiations. I nodded and handed over the recorded video and bank transaction records to him. Back home, I started packing my belongings. The wedding house was filled with festive decorations we had arranged together ourselves. Small couple photos on the bedside, the large wedding portrait hanging on the wall, all kinds of little items prepared for the wedding, and an unopened backdrop board that had just arrived. Between the names loveA and Leo Joe was a big red heart. It should have been the start of our newlywed life. I let out a bitter smile and picked up my phone to message Leo Joe. I agreed to the divorce. I'll let you be with Eleanor Dye. Unsurprisingly, the chat box kept showing the other party typing, yet no message came through. I sent another message. Leo Joe, I know you're cheating. Come back tonight, we need to talk. After a long time, I finally received a reply. I'm sorry for hurting you. I recorded the entire chat screen and sent it to lawyer Jung. It took me the whole afternoon to sort out all my things. This was probably my last day living in this house. As I packed, I kept wondering why Eleanor Dye had insisted on coming back for Leo Joe. After all, hiding a pregnancy was never easy. What huge risk was she taking, and for what purpose? When I came across my sanitary pads while packing, I suddenly remembered Leo Joe once saying it was a good thing that my menstrual cycle was very regular. Could it be that Eleanor Dye had fertility issues and this pregnancy was extremely rare for her, which was why she was willing to move to this city? But I had no way to confirm any of this. Right now, all I wanted was to settle the divorce quickly. Just thinking about my parents asking a few days ago how the wedding preparations were going gave me a headache. That night, Leo Joe came home. His eyes were filled with guilt as he looked at me. I spoke calmly. At this point, I don't want to dwell on unnecessary matters. Leo Joe, let's be honest with each other. I'm sorry, Nova. Leo Joe had no idea how much I already knew and kept apologizing repeatedly. With gentle guidance from me, I pieced together the complete timeline from his words. Eleanor Dye had contacted him in mid-July. They had deleted each other on all social platforms after their breakup. This July, Eleanor Dye tried to send him a friend request again, but Leo Joe declined. She then sent him several text messages one after another, none of which Leo Joe replied to. This answer took me by surprise at first, yet it made perfect sense upon careful thought. By then we had already obtained our marriage certificate and moved in together. Wedding invitations had all been sent out, with relatives and friends all looking forward to our big day. There was no reason for Leo Joe to disrupt our stable life at such a time. It was not until frictions arose from our different living habits. My strong personality made Leo Joe uncomfortable, and he delayed handing over his monthly salary to me. We had a huge fight over this. That night when he went to the bar, he received another text message from Eleanor Dye, filled with reminiscence between the lines. And so, they met. 4 years later, his first love, the girl who had dazzled everyone in their school days, reappeared. She said she had met many people over the years yet could never forget him. She looked pitifully tearful, stirring up endless old memories with just one glance. It was easy to guess what happened next. I'm sorry. I really lost my head back then, and I'd had a bit to drink. I couldn't help wondering what life would be like if we hadn't broken up, if it had been her marrying me instead of you. I could no longer stay calm. Hearing his confession with my own ears, tears welled up uncontrollably in my eyes. It was my midnight phone call that pulled him back to reality. After all, the wedding was drawing near. No one wanted to become a laughingstock or have to explain themselves to every relative and friend. That was why Leo Joe was so overwhelmed with guilt when he came home, holding me and apologizing non-stop. He even said, "Nova, don't leave me." Or perhaps he had meant Eleanor all along. Emotion clashed with reason, and in the end, emotion prevailed. I truly wanted to build a good life with you, but there were just too many conflicts between us. I wiped the corners of my eyes. I did not expose Leo Joe's excuses, yet I saw right through his lies. If my guess was correct, Eleanor Dye had traveled all this way just to use Leo Joe as a fallback partner. She kept reaching out to him relentlessly and finally took advantage of our quarrel to step back into his life. What she never expected was that Leo Joe was already married and had no intention of divorcing me for her. After cheating, Leo Joe was drowned in guilt toward me. Men were indeed realistic through and through. Thus Eleanor Dye had no choice but to play her final card. She went to the hospital for a checkup, cornering Leo Joe completely. Leo Joe could never bear to make her get an abortion. The timing of his proposal for divorce also fit perfectly. Leo Joe never once mentioned Eleanor Dye's pregnancy, unwilling to ruin his reputation further. If he had known the child was not his, he would never have divorced me in the first place. Thinking this over, I grew more certain that my speculation was right. Noticing my grave expression, Leo Joe suddenly asked, "How did you find out about me and her?" "Intuition. Do you believe it, Leo?" Joe fell silent. "I saw you with my own eyes, at the hotel." "You followed me?" He grew agitated instantly. "Nova, how could you do that? And what about you? How could you do this to me?" Leo Joe was left speechless at once. "Starting today, I'll move back to my own place. We can discuss the specific divorce arrangements in a few days. I recorded our conversation just now. You can also hire a lawyer to make things fair." I told my parents the truth about our upcoming divorce. Dad flew into a rage and wanted to go confront Leo Joe right away, but I managed to calm him down. He seemed like an honest man before the engagement. Who would have thought he'd turn out to be such a scumbag? Mom could not help but curse too. It took me a long time to soothe their emotions. We agreed not to spread the news for now, and wait until the divorce agreement was finalized before making any plans. With 16 days left until the wedding date, Leo Joe and I finally entered divorce mediation. Since we had only been married a short time, our joint property was not complicated. As the wronged party, I was entitled to a larger share of the assets. We each had several untouched bank cards kept separate, counted as personal premarital property. Leo Joe's house and my car were both purchased before marriage, leaving no disputes. Although we had obtained the marriage certificate, we had only lived together for 2 months. I needed to return 70% of the betrothal gifts and give back the diamond ring in its original condition. We would each bear half the wedding expenses, and I would retain the right to transfer the wedding banquet and wedding planner reservations. Perhaps concerned about his reputation, Leo Joe made things smoother than I had expected. In return, I promised to give a unified explanation to all invited relatives and friends, saying we had parted peacefully. After all, only our closest loved ones knew we had already registered our marriage. Having gotten everything I wanted, I saw no need to make an ugly scene publicly. I also had no desire to fuel gossip and speculation among others. Piper Chin was still furious on my behalf. "You're way too soft-hearted, Nova. That scumbag got off far too easily. This outcome is already ideal for me. Legally, I couldn't have claimed any more assets anyway. If you ask me, you should drag this out and refuse to divorce first. They're the ones in a hurry." I could not deny that her suggestion would work well as revenge. But if I did that, Leo Joe's scandal would become public knowledge. He would have no choice but to marry Eleanor Dye amid endless gossip, growing to resent me deeply. He might even slander my reputation out of spite, and the divorce proceedings might not go as smoothly as I hoped. One should always leave some leeway for others. For me, breaking free as soon as possible was the best choice. 10 days before the original wedding date, Leo Joe and I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to complete the divorce formalities. I held the divorce certificate in my hand, stroking it for a long while. I still remembered the day we got our marriage license. It was a bright sunny morning, and I had specially put on a full face of makeup. I never imagined this marriage I had once looked forward to so much would end so briefly and hastily. After leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, Leo Joe apologized to me once again. Yet no amount of guilt he felt toward me could stop him from running to his white moonlight. "If Eleanor Dye hadn't gotten pregnant, would you still have chosen to divorce me?" How did you find out?" Leo Joe stared at me in shock. I ignored his stunned gaze. I did not care about the answer anyway. were once husband and wife. I'm just kindly reminding you, be careful of being a fool who raises another man's child. With that, I turned and left on my own. Sure enough, Leo Joe chased after me. Wait, Nova, what exactly do you mean by that? She registered under my best friend's name at the hospital. Have you never suspected why she suddenly came back for you now, and why it's such a coincidence that she's pregnant? While Leo Joe was thrown into confusion, I got into my car, suddenly feeling light and carefree. I knew they would never get married. My words had already planted seeds of doubt and unease in Leo Joe's heart. He would definitely find a way to verify the truth. I picked up Piper Chin and drove to an upscale restaurant, sitting by the best viewing window on the 25th floor. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows and fell on us. It was truly a wonderful day. You're amazing, Nova. Just thinking about them falling out makes me want to laugh out loud. I handed her the menu. Let's order first. If you hadn't woken me up, I'd still be kept in the dark. We best friends, of course I'd help you, Piper grinned. But I'm not holding back on this meal. We don't get the chance to dine at a place like this every day. We exchanged smiles, ordered several signature dishes, and clinked our glasses together. Cheers! Happy divorce! A week later, Leo Joe showed up at my doorstep. Before he could even come inside, my father lectured him fiercely at the door for a long time. How dare you come here? Do you finally realize how good our Nova is now? Dad, I walked over upon hearing the noise. Let him come in. Once inside my room, Leo Joe seemed lost for words, looking utterly haggard. Nova, I was wrong. Facts proved all my earlier speculations were correct. Eleanor Dye had a boyfriend in the capital all along. After an accidental pregnancy, her boyfriend had no intention of marrying her. Due to health reasons, Eleanor Dye was unwilling to give up the baby. That was why she reached out to Leo Joe again. Yet Eleanor Dye had miscalculated one thing. 4 years after graduation, no one remained as innocent and impulsive as they once were. The young man she had thought would run to her without hesitation had learned to weigh reality and interests. I never imagined she would lie to me like this. I never imagined you would lie to me like this either, I replied calmly, meeting Leo Joe's dejected gaze directly. Nova, I've long let go of the past. Please trust me. I truly only wanted to live a good life with you. I met her only because I was furious that day, and I had no choice but to divorce you once I thought she was pregnant. I said nothing, wearing a blank expression as if listening to a joke that had nothing to do with me. Nova, I know I was wrong. Let's not split up. Can we still get married 3 days from now? Leo Joe reached out to take my hand, but I pulled away sharply. Leo Joe, we no longer have any connection at all. You only told me this on the day of our divorce just to make me regret it, didn't you? I know you're angry with me and I deserve it. I truly regret everything now, Nova. Get out. I drove Leo Joe away. I sat alone for a long time afterward. I had thought I would feel a sense of revenge seeing him like this. Yet when he stood at my door spouting words of regret, my heart remained completely unmoved. I realized true emotional liberation meant no longer wasting any energy or even the slightest bit of emotion on this person. I never expected to run into Eleanor Dye the very next day. I had no idea how she had found my home address. When I came back from work, I spotted someone sitting on the staircase. I recognized her at first glance. Eleanor Dye stood up the moment she saw me. You're a Nova, you. What do you want from me? Why did you say those things to him? You already agreed to the divorce. Why couldn't you just let me have him? We were so close to getting married. Don't you think it's ridiculous for you to come here and question me? You were the one who intruded into my marriage. What right do you have to ask me to let you be happy? Eleanor Dye froze at my retort, tears gradually welling up in her bright eyes. She stepped back slowly, shaking her head, and let out a bitter smile. Do you have any idea how hard it was for me to get pregnant? Do you know what I've been through? Do you think I wanted things to turn out like this? Everyone's laughing at me now. As she spoke, she squatted down completely, burying her head low with her shoulders trembling non-stop. I took a tissue out of my bag and held it out to her. Your pain was not caused by me, but my pain was brought upon me by you and Leo Joe together. Eleanor Dye looked up at me, and when our eyes met, there was the same sorrow in both of us. She still took the tissue. You're pregnant. Go home early. I never saw Eleanor die again after that. September 26th, a weekend, the original wedding date. I stayed at home, sorting through all the brand new wedding supplies and props, planning to sell them secondhand. As for the hotel banquet hall with the date so close, almost no new couples were booking venues at the last minute, so it couldn't be transferred. There wasn't much else left. Leo Joe suffered greater financial losses. The diamond ring was engraved with my initials, so no one wanted it secondhand, and its resale value depreciated sharply. When Piper Chin heard this, she laughed and said he deserves it. Actually, Leo Joe came to see me twice later. Once my dad blocked him at the door, and he left awkwardly after standing there for hours. Another time I was home. I opened the door, said just one sentence, and sent him away. It's completely over between us. If you bother me again, I won't mind letting everyone know the real reason we split up. After that, Leo Joe never disturbed me again. Life gradually returned to normal, as if nothing had ever happened. A few distant relatives occasionally hinted and asked why the wedding fell through, but my parents brushed them off with jokes. On holidays, Piper Chin often invited me out. I knew she was worried that I was putting on a brave face but still couldn't accept it deep down. While she feared marriage herself, she never stopped comforting me, saying I deserved a better man. I, on the other hand, didn't care much. Don't worry. I've been married once, and now my eyes are wide open. Besides, us two spending our lives together wouldn't be so bad. I took Piper's hand and walked quickly from the shade into the sunlight. The most profound warning of this story is that in marriage, we should never be blinded by frictions over trivial daily matters, nor gamble our life away for the illusory halo of the first love. Clashing with the heroine over living habits, the male protagonist was taken advantage of by his returning first love. He willfully pushed for divorce just 10 days before the wedding, only to find he was merely being used as a dupe to raise another man's child, ending up with nothing but loss. The heroine's clear-headedness is far more worthy of our learning. Upon discovering the betrayal, she did not wallow in self-doubt, but promptly gathered evidence and ended the relationship with dignity, firmly rejecting the male protagonist's later pleas for reconciliation. It teaches us that a good marriage never comes from one-sided compromise, and loving ourselves is always the top priority. Walking away from unworthy people in time is the greatest responsibility we owe to our own lives.